I hate that we're making this video. Oh, but Lego, if you hate that, why don't you just not make the video? Okay. Yeah, stop trying to catch me with my tail between my legs here, folks. We are talking about a player that the Vancouver Canucks have been linked to, and a player that has been tossed around there as a potential, hypothetical, joking kind of a name that they could actually target here. And it comes to us via the form of not Cam Robinson. Sorry, Cam is on here on Sakaris and Price from a few days ago, going out there and talking about the Canucks wanting to bring in another player to play down the middle of the ice. Oh yeah, earth-shattering analysis here. But the source that we are referring to is none other than Jeff Marek, who also went out there on Sakaris and Price and spoke about Vancouver Canucks trade options. This was from yesterday's edition of the show, and NHL Rumor Report does have the scoop here. This is what Jeff Marek said in regards to Canucks trade options. If you bring in Marco Rossi, and I sort of sideways swiped at Jesperi Kotkaniemi, probably for a reason too, I don't know that if you bring them in, these guys are going to lead the Vancouver Canucks forwards. And that is a very fair thing to say. If the Vancouver Canucks get Marco Rossi, if the Vancouver Canucks get Jesperi Kotkaniemi, then are these guys going to be the top-of-the-line Vancouver Canucks leaders offensively? Probably not. I mean, Rossi might have a better chance at doing so compared to KK, but still, you might be wondering, okay, what's this about? Like, he sort of sideways swiped at Kotkaniemi, probably for a reason? Well, NHL Rumor Report has the reply. Earlier in the podcast, Marek said it was quiet in the NHL, but he joked that they'd get off the air and there'd be a trade like Kotkaniemi to Vancouver. This writer, NHL Rumor Report, assumed it was a random hypothetical until Marek brought Kotkaniemi up again later in the hit in relation to the Canucks. So, I actually really like the way that NHL Rumor Report reported this. He said, yeah, Marek tosses out Kotkaniemi's name as a hypothetical kind of joke, but then he circles back on Kotkaniemi when talking about Canucks trade targets, which all of a sudden makes it real. It's not fugazi anymore. It's not, just numbers on a screen. Now we are actually talking about the idea of KK in Vancouver, and I think it's relevant because we have spoken about this guy and the Canucks in the past. He has been noted as a Patrick Allvin Vancouver target in prior years. Now, let's just go out there and read some of the replies. If you trade for someone like Rossi or Kotkaniemi, you're not bringing in a guy who's going to lead your forward group. They might help, but they're not going to be that guy. This is what he is saying. And another reply says, WTF does that mean? Okay, look, we're not just going to dismiss what Marek goes out there and says because it's kind of confusing, but I did want to go over the Jesperi Kotkaniemi angle just because I think it's something to talk about in the dog days of summer and the start of August, by the way. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is 25 years old, signed on till the end of 2030 at $4.82 million a year. Here's the thing about that, man. If he was just a middle to top six caliber center, if he could just get 50 to 60 points a year, this contract would be seen as a steal. He was signed to an offer sheet all those years ago, then inked this behemoth of a deal, not because the AAV is long, but because it goes on till 2030. This thing was an 8-year contract extension, and Kotkaniemi signed it because, hey, he's getting himself some money, he is guaranteeing himself generational wealth by sticking in Carolina, and this previous year the guy had 33 points in 78 games played. Yes, he had 43 points in 82 games 2 years ago when he was 22 years old. His birthday's in July. He turned 23 at the end of this season. At this point in his career, it's like, wow, look at that. He's going out there and producing, and he's young, and he's cost-controlled. And then he dipped to 27 points, and then barely got back up to 30. This guy is in no man's land when it comes to offensive productivity and the way he is being used in Carolina. You're saying that this guy should be the Vancouver Canucks' main target? I mean, we've already made our fair share of commentaries talking about, JT Miller or Pettersson over to Carolina and Kotkaniemi would come back in return with Necas or something like that. That was discussed. We made videos about that, but Kotkaniemi was never going to be that main piece to come back. And right now, you think about just where he is in his development. I mean, this guy played 9 minutes in Carolina's final game against Florida this recent playoff run. Or did he even play the full thing? I don't know, man. He had some 11-minute games in there, 10-minute games, 12-minute games. It just says to me that Kotkaniemi, he's not trusted in Rod Brindamore's system. He is not relied upon. He isn't worth that third overall draft pedigree that he had 7 years ago in 2018. Now, just to get some perspectives out there, let's dive into the positives, shall we? Let's go over to the Carolina Hurricanes subreddit and read this post made by Plastic Complex, 1575. He went out there and said, if only we could turn back time. Never acquired this thorn in our side center. So, yeah, he is definitely talking about Kotkaniemi, and he's saying that if only we could have not acquired this dude via the offer sheet. Let's go out there and read some of the replies. Last year, Kotkaniemi's 31 points 5v5 were second on the Carolina Hurricanes, tied with Seth Jarvis and above Sebastian Aho. Those 31 5v5 points were tied for 111th amongst forwards last year. High-end second-line production on the top 52% of faceoffs and defensively good. Womp womp. The power play 2 last year was historically bad. It was 2 times as bad as the second worst power play 2 in the league, which was the Sharks. With a median power play 2 production, nobody is complaining about KK. So, the argument here is that Kotkaniemi actually would have been a lot better this previous year if the second power play wasn't as bad as they were. They were 2 times as bad as the second worst power play 2 in the league, which was San Jose. Now, unfortunately, I'm not smart enough to figure out how to calculate strictly power play 2 numbers versus power play in general and power play 1. But hey, this is the top comment here. I think, Questionable says, the power play 2 sucking was largely Brent Burns' fault. If you watch power play 2, he took tons of wild shots that missed the net, allowed the other teams to clear, and effectively killed the entire power play. I have much higher hopes for Power Play 2 this year with presumably Stankoven, Hall, KK, Blake, and Nikishin. Totally different vibe. Another reply goes out there and says, Kotkaniemi is not a 2C, but he would be an excellent 3C. I don't really get all the KK hate in this fan base. He isn't better than what they let go in Trocheck. His performance has been overwhelming. Overwhelming or underwhelming? I think that's what you meant to say there. I don't understand why this fanbase protects him so much when no one is above criticism. Not saying that he's better than Trocheck, I don't think anyone thinks that, but it also wasn't necessarily a choice between the two guys. Trocheck seemed pretty determined to go to New York plus get a big payday. It didn't work out. The point is, Kotkaniemi is a fine 3C. His contract isn't bad for the role. He gets crapped on a ton for no real good reason. He's not above criticism, but he plays his role well. It's also true they've needed a 2C since Trocheck left. Oh man. So there is a decent amount of Kotkaniemi defending going on here. I will say that just the sample size and the resume, I don't think it really bodes well when you're thinking about this guy being the second-line Canucks center for next year. I mean, is he really all that much better than a Filipino, for example? He could prove me wrong. I mean, he is still only 25 years old. I say 25 like that's really young. It's kind of funny because Kotkaniemi's birthday is actually kind of close to mine. We're both 25, and I'm kind of taking a shot at myself by saying that we're not too young anymore. But Kotkaniemi, 33 points in 78 games played this most recent season. Things didn't really look all too great for him. And now, Jeff Marek's going out there and talking about him as a Canucks trade target. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section. How does that make you feel? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.